Hey everybody, Ross here, and this is Bible Study Silver Star. If this is your first time on this channel, click the first link down in the description, or if you'd like to see just what's been going on recently, click the second link down in the description to go back to Numbers 14. Now, without further ado, I'm just going to jump right on into Numbers 15, verse 1. And the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, Speak to the children of Israel, and say to them, When you have come into the land you are to inhabit, which I am giving to you, and you make an offering by fire to the Lord, a burnt offering or a sacrifice, to fulfill a vow, or as a freewill offering, or in your appointed feasts, to make a sweet aroma to the Lord from the herd or the flock, then he who presents his offering to the Lord shall bring a grain offering of 1/10 of an ephah of fine flour mixed with 1/4 of a hin of oil, and 1/4 of a hin of wine as a drink offering you shall prepare with the burnt offering or the sacrifice for each lamb. Or for a ram you shall prepare as a grain offering 2/10 of an ephah of fine flour mixed with 1/3 of a hin of oil. And as a drink offering you shall offer 1/3 of a hin of wine as a sweet aroma to the Lord. And when you prepare a young bull as a burnt offering, or as a sacrifice to fulfill a vow, or as a peace offering to the Lord, then shall be offered with the young bull a grain offering of 3/10 of an ephah fine flour mixed with half a hin of oil. And you shall bring as the drink offering half a hin of wine as an offering made by fire, a sweet aroma to the Lord. Thus it shall be done for each young bull, for each ram, or for each lamb or young goat, according to the number that you prepare, so you shall do with everyone according to their number. All who are native born shall do these things in this manner, in presenting an offering made by fire, a sweet aroma to the Lord. And if a stranger dwells with you, or whoever is among you throughout your generations, and would present an offering made by fire, a sweet aroma to the Lord, just as you do, so shall he do. One ordinance shall be for you of the assembly, and for the stranger who dwells with you, an ordinance forever throughout your generations. As you are, so shall the stranger be before the Lord. One law and one custom shall be for you and for the stranger who dwells with you. Again the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, Speak to the children of Israel, and say to them, When you come into the land to which I bring you, then it will be, when you eat of the bread of the land, that you shall offer up a heave offering to the Lord. You shall offer up a cake of the first of your ground meal as a heave offering of the threshing floor, so you shall offer it up. Of the first of your ground meal you shall give to the Lord a heave offering throughout your generations. If you sin unintentionally and do not observe all these commandments, which the Lord has spoken to Moses, all that the Lord has commanded you by the hand of Moses, from the day the Lord gave commandment and onward throughout your generations, then it will be, if it is unintentionally committed, without the knowledge of the congregation, that the whole congregation shall offer one young bull as a burnt offering, as a sweet aroma to the Lord, with its grain offering and its drink offering, according to the ordinance, and 1 kid of the goats as a sin offering. So the priest shall make atonement for the whole congregation of the children of Israel, and it shall be forgiven them, for it was unintentional. They shall bring their offering, an offering made by fire, to the Lord, and their sin offering before the Lord, for their unintended sin. It shall be forgiven the whole congregation of the children of Israel, and the stranger who dwells among them, because all the people did it unintentionally. But if a person sins unintentionally, then he shall bring a female goat in its first year as a sin offering. So the priest shall make atonement for the person who sins unintentionally. When he sins unintentionally before the Lord, to make atonement for him, and it shall be forgiven him. You shall have one law for him who sins unintentionally, for him who is native born among the children of Israel, and for the stranger who dwells among them. But the person who does anything presumptuously, whether he is native born or a stranger, that one brings reproach on the Lord, and he shall be cut off from among his people, because he has despised the word of the Lord, and has broken his commandment. That person shall be completely cut off. His guilt shall be upon him. Now while the children of Israel were in the wilderness, they found a man gathering sticks on the Sabbath day. And those who found him gathering sticks brought him to Moses and Aaron, and to all the congregation. They put him under guard, because it had not been explained what should be done to him. Then the Lord said to Moses, The man must surely be put to death. All the congregation shall stone him with stones outside the camp. So as the Lord commanded Moses, all the congregation brought him outside the camp and stoned him with stones, and he died. And again the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, Speak to the children of Israel. Tell them to make tassels on the corners of their garments throughout their generations, and to put a blue thread in the tassels of the corners. And you shall have the tassel, that you may look upon it, and remember all the commandments of the Lord, and do them, and that you may not follow the harlotry to which your own heart and your own eyes are inclined, and that you may remember and do all my commandments, and be holy for your God. I am the Lord your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt to be your God. I am the Lord your God. Alright, in verses 1 to 21, God gives more laws on how sacrifices should be prepared and offered. Now why would God give laws like this by starting with the phrase, When you have come into the land you are to inhabit, which I am giving you? Because these laws are not intended for the Israel of the time. They're intended for the next generation of Israelites that will come into Canaan after the 40 years of wandering in the wilderness. Verses 22 to 29 cover how unintentional sin, both national and personal, was to be handled upon its discovery. There's an important point to be made here. Many unbelievers, and even some believers, are under the misconception that God is out to get us for everything wrong we do, even if we didn't know we did anything wrong to begin with. This section shows how far from the truth that misconception is. God knows that we're human, and that we mess up, a lot of times without even knowing it. So instead of going straight to punishing Israel for any unintentional sin, God gives them an opportunity to make it right with the appropriate sacrifice. When we as Christians are presented with the same situation, we can repent of that unintentional sin and seek God's help in improving us in our failings. Verses 30 and 31, by contrast, show the very real consequence of intentional sin. The penalty here is death. So I'm pretty glad we don't live under the Old Testament law anymore. The logic here is found in verse 31, which says, Because he has despised the word of the Lord and has broken his commandment. To put it another way, the penalty was so severe because the person committing the sin knew better. And because they knew better, their accountability was that much higher. Like I said, we no longer live under the Old Testament law anymore, but under the grace of Jesus Christ in the New Testament. That doesn't mean, however, that there are no longer consequences for intentional sin. Because we are the adoptive children of God by the work of Christ, God chastises us and disciplines us when we intentionally sin against him. Now, why would a God of love punish his own children? For the same reason that our earthly parents disciplined us, because they love us. Romans 12, 6 through 11 perfectly details both the why of this discipline and what it's trying to achieve. It says, "My son, do not despise the chastening of the Lord, nor be discouraged when you are rebuked by him. For whom the Lord loves, he chastens, and scourges every son whom he receives. If you endure chastening, God deals with you as with sons. For what son is there whom a father does not chasten? But if you are without chastening, of which all have become partakers, then you are illegitimate and not sons. Furthermore, we have had human fathers who corrected us, and we paid them respect. Shall we not much more readily be in subjection to the Father of spirits and live? For they indeed for a few days chastened us as seemed best to them, but he for our profit, that we may be partakers of his holiness. Now no chastening seems to be joyful for the present, but painful. Nevertheless, afterward it yields the peaceable fruit of righteousness to those who have been trained by it." End quote. In short, God's discipline for our intentional sin is for our own good, because he loves us and is continuing to transform us into the image of Christ. In verses 32 to 36, the people catch a man gathering sticks on the Sabbath day, and God commands for him to be stoned to death. If you're anything like me, you're probably thinking that was pretty harsh. So what's going on here? Let's first refresh our memories as to what the Sabbath is, and move on from there. The Sabbath was instituted by God as a weekly holy day of rest to him. What most people focus on is the fact that the law forbid any work to be done on the Sabbath day. While this is true, the reasoning for it is often confused. The common belief is that people were forbidden from working on the Sabbath day in order to prevent them from physically exhausting themselves. But that's only a secondary point. The main point of the Sabbath day is for the people to rest in God for that entire day. In other words, they were to stop working in order to focus on God, worship him, remember everything he had done for them as a nation, and seek him both collectively and individually. So for someone to violate the Sabbath by working was the same thing as to disregard and disrespect God in all of those areas. Knowing this, the death penalty for the man gathering sticks looks much more reasonable and just. His death both solidified the seriousness of the Sabbath and further elevated the importance of keeping God central in everything. And finally, the chapter ends with God's command for the people to put tassels on the corners of their clothes as reminders of his law and commandments. Why so many reminders, though? As I'm sure you've already noticed by now, Israel is a very forgetful nation, so they need all the reminders they can get. To be quite honest, though, we're not any better today, are we? Unlike the Israelites of the time, however, we have the completed scripture to remind us of the dangers of forgetfulness. And that's all I have for today. Thanks for watching. If you have any comments, feedback, or suggestions, leave them down below in the comments. And may God make you as Ephraim and Manasseh, to be fruitful where you are, and to forget the pain of your past. And the Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. Thanks again for watching, and I will see you all soon in Numbers 16.